Hey, I'm Eichler. In this video of Stories of the World, we're going to be talking about the lost history of the world's smartest horse, beautiful Jim Key. Now, what would you consider smart? Knowing some numbers, knowing the alphabet, maybe fetching a stick? How about being able to solve simple math problems, spelling words and names, correctly filing mail into the correct post office slots, and producing correct change from a custom-made cash register? Well, the horse Jim Key could do all that, but before we talk about the horse, we need to talk a little bit about his owner, William Key. At the time, William Key was a former slave, Tennessee businessman, and self-taught veterinarian. He bought a horse, Loretta, Bill's mother, from a circus who suffered mistreatment and neglect. William nursed Loretta back to health, and in 1889, Loretta found a colt. William Key originally intended to give the colt a biblical name, but the foal was so homely and clumsy that he simply called him Jim and gave him his own last name, Key. When Jim was born, his health deteriorated quickly and had disproportionate legs. Now, I can't confirm this, but it has been considered that Loretta rejected Jim because of the colt's health issues, but nothing is certain. As with many other motherless fowls, Jim became attached to his human caregiver and began to develop quirky and almost human-like behavior. When Loretta died, Jim Key hardly noticed because of his strong relationship with William Key. Jim would try to spend every moment with his owner and even began to sleep on blankets in the Key family home at night. Now, while Jim was growing up, he would learn tricks such as fetching sticks, how to sit and roll over by watching the family's dog. William's wife, Lucinda, who was supportive of her husband's unique relationship with the fowl, was first to figure out that Jim could answer yes or no questions. Lucinda was eating an apple in front of him when she asked, "Jim, do you want a piece of the apple?" In which he nodded his head up and down in response. Upon finding out about Jim's behavior, William began to teach Jim the alphabet, numbers, Bible passages, and politics. Eventually, they began traveling together and performing impromptu performances as Bill was pitching for Keystone Liniment. Bill and William took their act to local fairs where they'd wow the audience with Jim's ability to spell short words by putting correct letters on the rack in the correct order. The pair started to gain more confidence and aimed to perform at the upcoming Tennessee Centennial Exposition. Two fair officials were shown a demonstration, and thoroughly impressed, they approved the pair to perform in the Negro Building. They were seen by thousands, including President William McKinley. Jim stunned the crowd by picking prominent names of politicians when asked by the crowd, filing mail in the correct postal slot, and producing change from a custom-made cash register. A few days later, a local newspaper printed President McKinley's statement on Jim Key's performance. It read, "This is certainly the most astonishing and entertaining exhibition I have ever witnessed." Now, somewhere else in the world, Albert Rogers, who read President McKinley's comment, went to see the performance himself. Amazed by the horse, he became determined to buy him. Now, guys, I know what you're thinking. It's another rich guy that's going to ruin something beautiful, right? Well, Mr. Rogers wasn't a bad guy. At the time, he was operating his own attractions, a log ride and a seesaw, and when a deal was settled between Mr. Rogers, Jim, and William, he arranged the pair to appear in venues throughout the East and helped develop a two-act play called The Scholar and the Model Boy that the duo performed in theaters. Rogers, who was inspired by Jim and William, made an effort to explain to anyone who would listen that with love and kindness, that animals can be taught to do anything. He wanted to be respected in the humane circles, so he appealed to animal protection organizations to sponsor the act. It was a really difficult task as many humane activists viewed the act as a hoax, which is understandable because, guys, if I told you my dog could bark Mary Had a Little Lamb and spell your name, skeptical, right? But eventually, through perseverance, they established the Jim Key Band of Mercy, a club that facilitated social discussion of the humane movement, which had over 1 million members, and over 2 million kids signed the Jim Key Pledge stating that they would be kind to animals. At the height of their success, William and Jim performed at the 1904 St. Louis World Fair and toured throughout the Midwest. But eventually, the pair was at a battle with age. Jim was arthritic in his teens and Bill was in his 70s. Now the plan was for the pair to rest during the year of 1907 and resume the performances the following year, but William's health began to decline rapidly and Rogers had a falling out with the Humane Education Society and suffered financial hardship. Back in Tennessee, Bill Key died in 1909 and beautiful Jim Key followed in 1912. So this is one of those stories that have been sort of lost in history. A few Tennessee citizens do have secondhand stories about the horse and William Key. Personally, I'd love to see a documentary made on this story, or maybe in the future, I'll make one myself. But anyways, for those who want to read more into this, there is a book called Beautiful Jim Keys by M.M.E. Rivas that I'll link in the description box below. So that's the story of the smartest horse that ever lived, Beautiful Jim Key. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe if you want to hear more stories. I'm Alex Lamb and this is Stories of the World.